Yanmo Dararikshani Atorani Vedadi Bijadima Nityam Chetasi Bhavyate Bhuvigata Sarvakya Sancharini Mampatu Priyadasha Bhavakapadam Sangataye Sridhara Datri Tvam Svayamadideva Vanita Dinati Dinam Pashum Prakta Pamrita Chandrikali Pimayi Sarpa Krutir Nitrita Chakrat Kurma Samashrita Bhagavati Tvamam Samalokaya Mamso Ganda Kuganda Dosha Jaditam Vedadi Karyanvitam Svalpa Svamala Chandra Koti Kiraner Nityam Shariram Kuru Siddharti Nijato Shavit Stalagatir Vyajiyate Vidyaya Kundaya Kulamarga Mukta Nagari Maya Kumarga Shriya Yadyevam bhajati prabhata samaye madhyana kale tava nityam yakula kundali japapadam bhojam sasido bhavet Vavakasha chaturdaleti vimale Panchaphalon mulake Nityam samprati nitya deha gadita Sanketita bhavita Vidya kundalamani nisvajanani Maya kriya bhavyate Yeshte siddhakulodbhave pranatibhi Satstotrake shambhubi Tata Shankara Mohini Tripuvana Chaya Patot Kamini Samsaradi Mahasukha Praharani Tatra Stita Yogini Sarva Granti Vibedini Svabhujaga Sukshmati Sukshma Para Brahmayana Vinodini Kulakuti Vyagatini Bhavyate Vande Shri Kulakundalim Trivalipi Sangha Sayambhu Priyam Pravishtam Baramara Chitta Chapalam Malamalishkalam Ya Devi Paripati Veda Vadana Shambhavani Tapini Ishtanam Shirasi Svayambhuvanitam Sambhavayami Kriyam
us right into awareness. So since we're in awareness, we can suspend our mind a little bit more. And of course, this whole little drama that we focus on is, rather than being located in mind alone, we shift out of mind somewhat, more or less, into awareness. And then we have awareness of our mind, huh? Some call it mindfulness, some call it experiential. But we shift into this awareness, this transitional space. Begin to experience this awareness as our very own self, rather than our precious mind, or precious thought, or precious affect, precious internalizations. And I really mean it is precious, and it is an aspect of our being in this world, just not the core, the base. So we begin to experience ourselves in this awareness, gazing and witnessing our experience of mind, even somatically, bodily. And that's a big step. And then, by accident or event or good luck, we begin to be able to make, in phenomenological terms, the second reduction. The first reduction is I step beyond my mind into awareness of mind, and then we make another reduction, where we enter into awareness of awareness. Then the door really opens. And all this is for the most ordinary of people, namely us. And as we become aware of this awareness, and we start to embody it, incarnating it, fleshing it, slowly but surely the vestiges of dissociation and dissociativeness begin to melt away. And as we start experiencing this awareness, and even at times integrating our mind into this awareness, integrating our mind into it, then this awareness begins to open itself more. As we stay in this awareness, as we try to live in this awareness, as we encounter circumstances through this awareness, we begin to experience that it's not simply a state, it's a field. It's vast. It's infinite in its horizons, goes beyond our body boundaries. It is knowingness, huh? It's knowing directly. Initially we had this when we were little babies, baby gnosis. But as we grow up, the ego functions are formed. It's good to have an ego, and it helps you get here and do lots of things. But sometimes as it grows, it begins to dominate, and the primordial awareness field starts to disappear. For some people, it doesn't. It's both a good thing and a challenging thing when you don't have that happen, because you have a kind of a sensitivity to experience, huh? And that you have to learn how to hold. So as we continue on with this, so as we're in awareness, then it begins to open up. And as the yogis describe it, the kayas begin to open. First, we're experiencing ourselves in this realm of flesh and bodies and cars and animals and the whole drama. And we begin to experience the light. It begins to lucidity, that this awareness is light. It illuminates experience. It illuminates ourself. It illuminates experience within each other and people. And starts to experience the luminosity and the energy, And the field, we begin to experience that we're living in this field. That is really quite fantastic for us. And then it begins to open up. None of this is linear. It begins to open up, to begin to experience these. The first is experiencing these appearances, and then it starts shifting. We begin to experience these apparitions of called archetypes, to use a language, and energies and colors and vortexes and people and scenes and dramas and geometries and all sorts of things, intensities, and that we experience in this field as this field, huh? Even realms, huh? Realms, as we were hearing last week by our wonderful guest speaker, who we hope to have him and others like him as we go on this year, is having more visitors coming through, and which is great. They can come through Zoom. They don't necessarily have to come here, so it's really very efficient. Okay, and we start experiencing realms, and we start feeling ourselves embodied in realms and living in different realms. And then finally, there's also often this sort of the archetypical realm, the Dharmakaya, this pure potentiality, realm of totally without any form, just that. So here we are. Let's extend to each other. And for our friends who just came in, I want to go through this again, because if you don't, this you really want to know this. This is about all you really have to know, I think. More often than not, we're living in our mind, located in our mind forever, and we think our mind is our world. We think our mind is ourself, actually, and it's not. It's really good to have one, because without one, it's really difficult. You with me? And this mind thinks, has feelings, sensations, and we're in it. And then one day, it happens. Something, an event happens, or a teaching happens, a moment happens, love happens, and we start to go beyond our mind, and we fall into awareness, the sea of awareness. And there we are in this awareness, this energy, this space, this openness, this Dasein, this light, this pulsations. And we feel it throughout our body, and yet we can gaze into our mind, and we can gaze into thoughts and feelings and sensations, and we can work better with our mind. It gives us a view that we can actually open our mind and begin to transform our mind, because we're not quite in it. We're holding it, we're viewing it, we're experiencing it. And then, and what some would call this transitional space, you could call it lots of things. And then we're there in this awareness of mind, mindfulness. And then one day, we make the second reduction. So in phenomenological terms, the first reduction is we step outside of our mind into awareness. We start gazing into the mind. All this is to do with gazing with her. And then the second reduction, we start gazing into the gaze. Wow, this really starts to open up. And not only that, we start to feel this in other beings. We thought they were just a chunk of mind, and suddenly we start experiencing, oh my God, you start relating to this awareness within another. Two awarenesses, better than one. And then, as you feel this in another person, or animal, or place, it arises. You start experiencing the self-arising of this awareness in your whole body, permeating you. Aliveness, vitalness, energy, light. And then as you start staying in this and learning how to stay in this awareness, you start to integrate your mind. Initially, when you integrate your mind, as soon as you integrate your mind integrates your awareness. Awareness disappears and you're back in your mind, okay? This happens for a few years. Then slowly but surely, if you're holding this awareness with anyone, or a painting or whatever, you start to feel more at home in this awareness, and you start to really experience this awareness now begins to open up itself. It starts to reveal itself. The invisible starts to reveal itself to you. And you, first of all, you're seeing it in this level of flesh and cars and people and dogs and TVs and politics and horrors and beauties and the whole story. And you start to feel the light in you, the lucidity in you. You actually start to feel and see and sense the light in the phenomena. That is totally cool. And sometimes it may look like blue, green, yellow, and sometimes you don't see light at all, but there's a clarity of luminosity that opens up to you that is the light. So first you often see it in your body, then you see it in another. Sometimes you see it in the other, then you see it in your body, depending on how you look at things. Now, then there's another opening. None of this is so linear as I'm presenting it. And then it starts to open up. And you sort of feel these energies, primordial energies, and vortexes, and tigles, and lights, and energies, or even apparitions, gods and goddesses, and this, and realms start to open up for you. Time starts to change, huh? And we're in this Sambhogakaya realm, this archetypical realm. And paradoxically, we may think we felt closeness in the Nirmanakaya, but actually, as Lama Tarchin describes it, we partake of each other the most in the Sambhogakaya. Right? So direct. Still some duality within non-dual, but it's less dualistic than Nirmanakaya. Less. And then opens up that pure potentiality, to use that language. Then in time, as things happen, you start to experience simultaneously all of them. You start accessing these different dimensions. And you're accessing it by yourself, but also in relationship to this world. Because the very circumstances of this world is the key, is the doorway to this unfolding of everything and anything. So that's where we're at, including these different realms that we were so elegantly described last week by Georgios. And what I'm hoping to do is have him do this more now, where different people, sort of friends, come on. It's not a big deal with Zoom. Even I can do it. I'm thinking about having Michael Egan and people like this, and coming on and opening this up this way for us. I was also urging everybody to do Qigong with Mr. Ma, who's a truly Qigong master. And he doesn't use a lot of bells and lights. It's very direct. It's very simple. And it helps with this embodiment. Our whole thing is not the detachment from reality, not the dissociative path, not this, not that, and that either, but the embodied path, flesh. A-okay? That's where we're at. So we're going to focus again. Before I go on to, I've been focusing a lot about the guru. And I would like everybody again, if you don't mind, to please read that paper that was sent out to you, but is now on the academic EDU, and that is Awareness, the Natural Awareness is Tantra, a Phenomenology. I would like you to read it again. And it's if you can enter that and you experience it in your body, you with me? And especially the part where it goes on those difficulties around equality consciousness that undo the power of Tantra. And then I go into that whole thing, and it's a relationship to the guru and traditions and theocracies and things like that. That conversation is not incidental to the nature of awareness. So I would like everybody to read it. And if you really can't read it, then why you shouldn't come, you know? I would like us to bring everybody. It's a little effort here, a little effort. Just if you wouldn't mind reading that, okay? And we'll focus that as experiments. So we've been talking about the guru in many forms, the inner guru and this. Just for some reason, this came up doing Qigong. A lot of stuff comes up for me in Qigong because its energy's so great there. And for some reason, I started thinking of Swami Muktananda. I was thinking also Lama Tarchin and how he taught. And all these, in their own ways, most ordinary people. Most ordinary. Hanging out with Baba was a very ordinary experience. Be sitting around, totally ordinary. An ordinary person hanging out, talking. And when sometimes, before there would be lots of people, it was great. Like one time in India, it was like 400 people. He was sick, he had a heart attack. We all just sit around in the afternoon just hanging out, as they say, shooting the shit. You with me? And it was fantastic. You with me? Ordinary person, ordinary concerns in certain ways, right? This wasn't Buddha guy, you with me? Or Shiva guy. This was the most ordinary person having conversations. Then it would come to the moment when he was going to teach. He would walk in, say he was going to teach you. He'd walk in, he bows to the chair. He would bow to his teacher, or the symbol. And suddenly he would change. And he would become the guru. The same way that we can change. The same way that we can change an ordinary person, and at certain moments this primordial awareness arises in you, and you can actually do something with your mouth rather than just eat, right? I love eating, by the way. Okay? But something starts to come through you. And we hear that in this room when this energy comes through people. You with me? A little accessed. Then Baba would go through this, and this fantastic energy and light would go, and then he would end up to a few chants. And out he walks. Ordinary guy. Hi, how you doing? What's going on? You with me? I don't know what it means. So, having said that, let's close our eyes just for a second. We're going to talk a little bit. So last week, Wednesday, we had that wonderful interview. And so I didn't talk about Easter Sunday or Friday, which was before that. I actually love Good Friday, and I love Easter Sunday because I'm from New Orleans. And in New Orleans, whatever your tradition, Good Friday was a fantastic. New Orleans people love death. We do. If you've been to a New Orleans cemetery, it's cities of death. You with me? And death is a big thing in New Orleans. Good Friday is the day of death. And everybody goes to church on Good Friday around 3 o'clock. So like at the St. Louis Cathedral, people are coming out the bars at 3 o'clock. It's a little they start early there, but everybody's going into the church. And for some reason in those days, it was a very untheocratic experience. You with me? There was the church. It was sort of like living in some of the European countries. There's a church, and then there's Mary and this whole other archetypical dimension. It's an archetypical place, New Orleans, from my side. So you go in, and then there is the Good Friday thing, and you go do the Stations of the Cross. You have thousands of people doing the Stations of the Cross, going through this agony of death, going through the dying experience. You with me? And then it goes to 3 o'clock, then everybody comes up and everybody kisses the cross, and it's very, very devotional. It's very meaningful experience, and it has its own quality, and there's light in the place, and all these people are coming who never would ever go on Good Friday. You with me? Then comes Easter Sunday, the day of light. Now, as we know, death and light are so intimate. Death and light are so close, right? So on Easter Sunday, and usually Easter Sunday wasn't so much Easter Sunday, but Saturday night would be the Easter the ceremonies of the light. So it's totally darkness. The part around, like the cathedral's all dark. Everything's dark. People are getting mugged in the darkness. But it's totally dark. And then suddenly, here comes this candle. And the chant is singing Lumen Christe. It actually sounds to me like the Muslim chant. In the morning when they invoke, it has that same tenor tone. Lumen Christe, invoking the light, invoking the light. And then suddenly they go in at a certain time, then the candle's lit, and then all the lights spread out throughout, and everybody outside the church, the light is there. It is so cool. We'll close our eyes and focus in. So, the day of death and the day of light are so close, since death and light are completely close. And often, I think my own love of Gnosticism came from being in New Orleans, because the Gnosticism of New Orleans is not unlike, for me, some of the early Christian Gnostic traditions, with its esoteric flavor. So in the early Gnostic Christian traditions, Easter Sunday itself, and there was a very untheocratic frame, was the day of self-liberation. Jung also writes about this in his studies of Gnosticism. And self-liberation is the experience of the embodiment of the light. This embodiment thing. And the embodiment of the light is also the embodiment of the energy, right? That's why I was talking about Mr. Ma's Qigong, where the focus is on embodying energy, which is ultimately, as Yen Shin would point out, the energy is ultimately the light. And so this and the lumen Christos in these traditions is simply an archetypical word. The Christos, there's Jesus the Christos, and there's you the Christos, is this archetypical light of the world. The Christos is the light of the world. Hope I'm not boring anyone. And Jesus declares this: I am the light of the world. So in this frame of the world is light. The entire world is light. The cosmos is light. Even all the planets. That's why they call it, the Vedic astrology has to do with the light, the light. Everything is light, forms of the light, And since there are certain forms of the light, to the degree that we have some expertise in invoking certain of those forms, it can actually be of use to us in our life, So the world is the light, the universe is the light, embodied light. Now, this is quite the opposite of dissociative traditions, Not this, not that, neither that either. And every experience I have is a delusion, including you. So Jesus, this is the flesh as light. This is the body of light, The body becoming light. And Jesus is not illuminating the world like a flashlight. It is not a flashlight. He's not saying, I'm a flashlight. If I had a flashlight, I would turn it right now. It's not a flashlight. When he says, I'm the light of the world, he's not saying, I'm enlightening the world here. That is a theocratic understanding of Jesus. The Gnostic understanding is his declaration, the world is light, and he is the light of this world like you and I are. The world is light. You will see those differences throughout the unfolding of the Gnostic traditions and the theocratic traditions. The theocratic tradition, Jesus is the light, and the way to the light is through the clergy. You with me? Whatever that clergy might be, and the theocratic frame. There's a big difference there. Say yes if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So for the Gnostics as well as Dzogchen, I want you guys leaning to me, and I will give a better talk. For the Gnostics as well as for the Dzogchen, and I do not think Dzogchen belongs to any religion, as Namkhe Norbu says so often. It doesn't belong to Buddhism or anything else. It is its own thing, and it comes out of traditions. You always see it, but it's not a function of a tradition. Though there are lineages within the tradition that carry it. So as Dzogchen, there's this experience of gnosis, this direct perception, this jnana, this direct knowingness. That's what we're doing. From mind to direct knowingness. There's this direct experience of this light, this translucidity. The word translucidity means this. I'm sitting next to Elizabeth, and it's not that I'm looking at Elizabeth through the light of my own eyes. Translucidity means that as I gaze, both she and I are in the light simultaneously. So the word translucidity is a word often used. It's not like the light is simply coming through my eyes and I'm gazing at her in the light. That is a step as we have the light in our own bodies. But actually, in a more summation way, it is a translucent experience. I actually have a paper called the Translucidity. It's a translucent experience. It's because the light is manifesting through both of us simultaneously, and I and you are open to that. Raise your hands if you're understanding the profound difference with that, okay? Now, and that's how it appears to people. So, first there's a translucidity within my own being, and then the translucidity within my own embodiment. So it's not like I'm just gazing with the light. That's a phase in that. But rather the light is actually gazing to me within my own body. Say yes if you understand what I'm saying. Okay. So, and then through the embodied being of all phenomena. So the embodiment of all the phenomena, there is the light manifesting. Sometimes it's like coming to us, but that is a dualistic frame that actually enters into non-dualism as it becomes a translucent experience. Raise your hands if you're understanding this. sometimes understanding helps us, because events can be happening, and because we don't quite understand it, we don't see what's actually happening. All this understanding is making the implicit explicit, right? So to experience gnosis, direct knowingness, is to experience our own embodiment of awareness as the light, becoming the light. Or that mantra, ahama, says, I am becoming who I am. Now, the singular praxis, praxis, and praxis is different than practice. Practice, you practice something for a little while in an obsessive compulsive way. Probably nothing happens after a few years, maybe. But praxis is something you do as your own style in your own life whenever you want to. You with me? It's not bound by time. So the practice of becoming aware of awareness frees awareness and opens our experience to the realms of awareness. And the realms of awareness is the realm of light, the realm of translucidity. Our personal awareness is light, illuminates experience. And our personal awareness is primordial luminosity. So my personal awareness is primordial luminosity coming through my awareness as my awareness. And so there's different forms of Buddhism, and I like how Giorgio said there's many forms of Buddhism. They don't even know each other at times. But there's a certain way when you frame, and there's no place to frame primordial awareness as our own subjectivity, then you can fall into non-self, ana-atman thinking, if you like that sort of thing. But this understands that our own awareness is primordial awareness in time and space, in this particular mind and body. But primordial awareness. When that understanding takes place, which is the Godaba Tantra, then you start opening up to deathless awareness, and the immortalness of humanness. A-okay? Yeah. The biggest drama for the early Buddhists was when Gautama died. He died. That was a trauma. He's gone. The thus gone is gone. Really gone. It was truly, I'm not making this up just for humorous things, but the trauma that he died was enormous. And they began to think and go beyond the teachings of the Four Noble Truths out of agony. That's why events play a role in the unfolding of aletheia, the manifestation of truth. And all truth unfolds over time. Just like for us, over these years, slowly but surely, you begin to get a glimmer of actuality, right? You guys with me right now? Now, so, our personal awareness is primordial luminosity, and it's also as who-ness. As who-ness. Who-ness is the light. In the great Hindu tantras, the Purusha, that's the word they use, Purusha, P-U-R-U-S-A, is the primordial who-ness as light. Who-ness as light. That's why many yogis, and like Longchenpa and whatever the tradition, describe the experience of being in the sea of light, not as an impersonal phenomenon. There are certain dimensions of experience or impersonal. But if you're not taking a dissociative approach, it is more possible that you will be experiencing the realm of who-ness manifesting in you, which is personal. But it's not like a guy or a gal looking at you, you with me? But there's this vast sense of unbound who-ness. Close your eyes for a moment, if you don't mind, and raise your hands if you've ever experienced who-ness. Great. Now, aham-ah, which you will find also in the White Tara practices and other of the Dzogchen practices, that aham is also a symbol of wholeness. Aham, aham. And as you say it, that will arise in you. Aham, aham. I like that mantra, because I'm talking about Baba, because once I think I told this before, and I was interviewing Baba for Voices with Red Mountain, a wonderful person, sort of Alex Red Mountain, Anybody know Alex? Okay. And we were doing for voices. And I asked him about people that have depression. And he suggested a hum opens up. It undoes the density of depression. A hum. Now, a hum. Okay. So, primordial awareness as light, as who-ness. Of course, to experience nature through our own nature, that we can experience nature through our own nature, is to experience self-liberation as the light. And as we experience the light of awareness, we begin to embody or experience Vajrakamara, the sense of unborn and undying quality of luminous awareness. Now, you and I can believe as much as we want about unborn and undying till we get in a really terrible accident. And then suddenly, as Descartes knows, the more you function on believing, the more you're going to have doubt. Belief and doubt are brother and sister. They go together. There's no say. You might have a certainty of a belief, yep, and then an event happens, and it starts to fall down, and then where am I at, right? Where's the base? You guys know that a bit? So the unborn, undying quality begins to be felt, huh? Not even thought. You start to have this sense of it. And this is what the yogis call deathless awareness. And deathless awareness is the experience of deathless light, huh? It's this union of death and light. And sometimes people have the good fortune of experiencing this before they meet the moment of death. And that's really good praxis, huh? And sometimes they experience at the moment of death. So deathless awareness is the ongoing continuity of the light. That's why Tantra has a lot to do with death, right? And Tantra has a lot to do with deathless light. Say yes if you know this. Do you know this? And another little, free associating like crazy today. I don't know what it is. But another, so let me just read this phrase. So deathless awareness is the unborn, undying quality of primordial luminosity. Huh? They're together. That's why in the moment of death. And it's not some little stupid test like sometimes it's progressive. Oh, am I going to see the light? Not going to see I'm missing the light. I'm seeing green light. I'm going to the warm light, not the cool light. And all that stuff that's sometimes presented in that text of Tibetan Book of the Dead was written in the 700s or 800s. You with me? You can think that way if you want. I don't particularly see it as a test. I missed the light one more time. There's a certain superego thing that permeates theocratic frames. They can't do without it. They just can't do without it. But I had an experience also on Good Friday. One day in New Orleans, in the church, they had brought the arm of St. Francis Xavier. The arm, yes. Now, this is New Orleans, okay? We love this sort of thing. Now, St. Francis of Xavier, who I actually love, was a great, great saint and a healer. And he was a healer who went through India and places, and he healed lots of people. And his arm was so luminous that when he died, it never decayed, okay? So, in this untheocratic place, here comes St. Francis Xavier's arm on Good Friday. Now, as a tantric or growing, what could be more better than this? So it must have been about 11 years old or 13, and here comes the arm at the communion rail, okay? And a little humor is good with this sort of thing. I'm waiting to see it, and I bow over, and there's this arm decaying and bone. I feel all this energy arising up. Holy cow. Walk away. That was amazing. That was really, really cool. At this thing. Oh, I don't think I'm going to tell anybody about this one. But this is weird, but great weird, right? Now, let's come back to 2000. 5, 4. We have Joao de Deus come here. I'm shooting the bull today. Anybody with the thing with Joao de Deus? Anybody here? Yes. Good. So Joao comes, and Joao de Deus is this enormous. Now he goes up to Omega. But this is his first. Huh? Could you get a battery? Jeff is not here. What are we going to do today? A battery would be great. Thanks. Jeff. Get a new microphone sometime. Hello. So where we're at. So Joao de Deus comes, okay? And Joao is this. I like different streams, and this time I wanted to have the shamanistic stream of Brazil come here. We visited him there. Our good friend Ulysses was here, who's from Brazil. And so at this time on Friday mornings, we'd call up Albacinia, where the city was, and would have a connection to Brazil. And then I think someone, I forget her name, Betsy would take the microphone, go in line when they were meeting, and Joao would go into this, they do the medium thing, he goes into this state, and then he'd become Dom Ignacio, and he would actually send energy. The place would be filled with energy. And we started having a great relationship through the energy, like we can do, right? So we invite Joao to come. Joao's going to come, except being a great healer, and many people go there, we start getting overrun with thousands of people wanting to come. So we started thinking, well, maybe we should just put a lot of bathrooms outside. But then people wanted rides. They got very entitled. Are you going to pick us up at the airport? Said, screw this, we're not doing it. We changed the whole thing around, canceled it, and had Joao come the following week, okay? But didn't tell anybody other than some of you guys. So Joao comes, this is a long story, but the beginning day, the first day he starts off with, he's going to do this invocation we hear. We had about 200 people packed in. And what he does, he invokes. Who's the saint? Saint Francis of Xavier. That's who invokes. I was so stunned. And he didn't say this. He says, now we're going to feel the energy. Here it comes. And he says, okay, can you feel it? This is Francis. Can you feel it? Everyone was having it. It was like, wow. Wow, wow, wow. So, enough of New Orleans. And yes. In a certain way, but yes, but no. We pull the energy to us. Okay, we pull the energy not simply by word invocations, but by desire, latent desire, current desire, unconscious desire. We pull the energy to us. We pull the light. That's why desire created Baltimore. Without desire, maybe we'll talk about desire next week. Okay, desire. That's why desire is so central. And when you eradicate desire, you're eradicating desire. So you're going to wind up finding yourself going and you eradicate desire and you go for detachment, dissociation. I've practiced detachment. I practice as a Gestalt person. You practice everything. You practice whatever you hear that should not be done. You do it for a while at least. You just have to do everything, and then you learn from doing. So I practiced dissociation, and I would fall into states of depersonalization, really weird states, not happy states. And if I stayed in them long enough, I would then start losing the sensoriality of this world. So that's a delusion, and I'm a delusion, and it's all delusion. This is not my path, or most of your path. We should get back on topic here. So when death happens, death happens. When death happens, there's the opening of deathless awareness for everyone. Oh, my moralization doesn't like this. My little sense of moralistic justice goes, no. Okay? It's both for the person who is dying, who is leaving this dimension of the embodied flesh, Namanikaya dimension, there's this profound opening of deathless awareness for those who are intimately connected through love to the person who is dying, and connected to the person who is leaving this dimension of beingness and entering into the more subtle and more pure states of luminous beingness itself. So there's this opening takes place, and as we're with the person whom we love in one way or another, it opens up for us that dimension, what do you call it, the Dharmakaya, primordial awareness, that opens up. And if we're there with them, I don't mean physically, the light supports the light like it does in all human experiences. The dying person is continuously, intimately, and non-dualistically connected to those who they love within the Sambhogakaya realm. As the Nirmanakaya, then the Sambhogakaya. And much of the adventurism of death takes place in the Sambhogakaya realm. Though also there's moments the Dharmakaya comes up in strength, and some enter that, and there's movement, Sambhogakaya realm. As Lama Tarjan describes Sambhogakaya, and does it in the sequence that Elizabeth is playing on Thursdays, when he goes into that. Has he described that yet, the Sambhogakaya? He says, in the Sambhogakaya, we partake of each other. We partake of each other. In mind alone, death is an abyss. If you're in mind alone at the moment of death, endless abyss. With awareness, Sambhogakaya. I don't mean you have to be a skilled yogi for this stuff. All this is natural manifesting in people. No outfits. And then there's this partaking of each other. This felt sense. Maybe you can feel it now. The light arising, embodying in the subtle body, that person becoming, and in us simultaneously. Mutually. This opening is beyond our mind and conceptual thinking. So even if I believe such stuff, I can believe it, but the event takes place beyond my mind. Whether I believe it or not, it's beside the point. That experience, And since language is so hard, it's very hard for us at times to speak from this dimension. That's why learning to articulate from this dimension gives us more capacity to understand this dimension when it's taking place. Say yes if you understand what I'm saying. This is for all of us doable. So it is within the depth of innermost awareness, whether I know it or not. I might be located in my mind alone, but there's some connection to my innermost awareness at this point, and in the innermost awareness, in that connection, which is love. Love is not a thought. Then this opening takes place within me also. Sometimes this opening is shocking and stunning for people because they haven't experienced it so much. So it becomes a challenge of themselves, and it can even feel like the abyss itself of loss, just like we first touch it. But if we have a little bit of comfort with it, it starts to open into what it is. Say yes if you follow what I'm saying. And so this vast openness takes place, bringing forth and reopening sometimes the first opening, but reopening or expanding the opening to self-liberation within this light of deathless awareness itself. So as you and I live in awareness at the moment of death for ourselves or someone else, it's not like we suddenly have to shift gears. Death time! You follow what I mean? Yes. And we go into an habituated state. You don't shift gears. Say yes if you understand what I'm talking about. You don't shift gears. It's an unfolding of the natural liberation that takes place. You have to believe it. In fact, if you believe it, it won't mean that much. Opening up. Opening up. A lot of stuff about mourning seems anemic academic to me. You with me? It's over in 6 months, 7 months, 9 months. You know? The actual death of a beloved companion is forever. The agony dissolves, the agony, but the sense of the desire to be with that person, that doesn't dissolve, you know? You don't necessarily just forget about them and put them in a box. At the realm of awareness, and especially at the realm of the Sambhogakaya. Continue on right now. All love is the experience of the light. This is well said by so many. The indivisibility, the indivisibleness of luminous. Huh? So one of the ways we enter into non-duality is through the experience of the light in that translucidity, or the experience of the energy, or the experience of the space. Say yes if you understand. Okay? All love, all human love, is direct experience of luminosity through the very singularity of love. I don't know what loving everybody really means. I'm a very limited guy from New Orleans, you know. We like our neighbors, like the people in the city. But loving everybody is quite a state. You with me? But more often than not, we're going to experience love in singularity. Huh? This person, that place. All love, all human love, is a direct experience of luminosity through the singularity of love, the singularity of what is, and who is. All who's are light, both the good, the bad, and the indifferent. In a kiss, a true kiss, the light as flesh is meeting the flesh as light. The problem with psychology, or psychologizing everything and anything, or everyone, is psychology can veil the actuality of the light. Psychology is really useful if it's integrated into the light. But psychology outside of that can actually be a veil of the light. The same is especially true with moralization. Huh? Moralization is theocratic life internalized in our own mind. Moralization of everything and everyone, as moralization easily veils the actuality of the light. Huh? That's where the stretch. Huh? Religion, with its unending theocratic preoccupation, relentlessly veils the actuality of the light. Outside the church, there's no salvation. That's repeated in every tradition I've been in. That's repeated in all of them in one way or the other. In every one. Sometimes it's more explicit, sometimes it's less explicit. In Buddhism, it's in Hinduism, though it's more universal in Hinduism. The light is not a belief, because belief in the light is not the direct experience of the light. Tea. Good. Belief in tea is not the same thing as tasting tea. It's not an experience. If it's not experienced, if it's not taste, if it's not touched. The light is a thought-free event. The light is a thought-free event. The light is known through awareness and not the mind alone. The light experience is a non-dual experience through and with duality. That's what translucidity means. It means within duality is non-duality, and with non-duality is duality. That's what the power that word pictures up, brings up, the translucidness of a moment, or even with the whole group. Say yes if this is making sense. Language helps us hold experience. Language is not the experience, but without language, sometimes you don't know what's experiencing. You have a felt sense of it, but the power of it, the meaning of it, doesn't come into experience. Language actually helps us experience what we are experiencing. That's why some people who, what's that thing where you're, not autism, but that syndrome, Asperger's sometimes. For Asperger people, there's a whole range. In fact, you don't even use it anymore. It covers so much territory. But people who have some of that, they have trouble. They can experience stuff. They can experience people, but because the language isn't quite there to bring that forth into conceptual knowingness, which then goes back into knowingness, they have trouble reading a lot of human behaviors, even though they're brighter than you and me. Almost done. So the light is known through awareness and not mind alone. The light is non-dual experience through and within duality. Almost done. So in truth, equal vision, equality consciousness, only happens when there is the innate sense, innate experience of the light within everyone and everything. So it's not really belief. Equality consciousness is the sense of light in everything and everyone, or maybe for some of it, it's in this person and that person, and you're learning to expand the view. Equality consciousness is self-liberation through direct luminous knowing. Equality consciousness is perceptual and relational. It's not just a solipsistic understanding of everything. For a lot of people it is, and in that they're sitting on towers in the desert, or on top of hills, frozen mountains, naked. But that's not really a relational metaphor. That's really going beyond the Piscean age. Equality consciousness is a foundational mode of knowing, a relational mode of knowing inside to inside. Equality consciousness is a way of being in the being of this world. Equality consciousness is self-liberation. So having said that, let's do this. I'd like you whoever you're sitting next to, you're going to sit next to me, okay? We're going to sit next to each other sideways like we're in a cab today. We're going to do a cab thing, okay? I'd like you to sit like this, okay? We can do this. I hope you like the person you're with. That is harder. You become a better person, though, at that moment, okay? I want you to open up, at least one person open up. This is very important in Kashmir Shaivism. See this dimension here? Because it's very direct into the heart center. It's very direct.
What are we saying? I'm sorry.
You have to stand up
your
there.
side is open. Your side.
Can you move? Can people see over there? Let's see. Can they see?
Yeah, they can see.
Okay, great. Now, if you guys, would you move for a minute, Laura? Just move yourself just for a second. You guys can move over more because I wanted to see people there. Now, can you do this on the internet? Can you pair up? Why don't you guys pair up? Pair up. Whose name is that there on the left? No, not there. Whose name is that? No, right there. Who's the?
Dan.
Okay, great. Pair up if you can. I don't know how you do this on the internet.
They would talk, they would chat with each other, but it's very conversational.
Well, you could say Dan and Matthew.
Okay,
pair up.
Dan and Matthew pair up.
Kathy and the woman underneath her.
That's
who's-
Marilyn.
Marilyn
Pair
pair up, and Carol and
Elizabeth
Liz
pair up. Now,
Juliet and Marone.
okay, Juliet
Juliet and
Marona.
Marona.
Okay, you may not see each other, but let's see if you guys can pair up. This,
To each other.
no, we're not going to talk.
just
Do not
extend
talk.
to each other.
You're going to just, excuse me, let me do it. You're going to extend to each other. You're going to extend to each other. Extend to us and extend to each other. It's easier in person. So, now, we're going to practice this week and the next couple of weeks, okay? So let's do this. We've heard our little rap. So let's, and first of all, we're going to extend to the people on the internet. I'm going to extend to Marona, Kathy, and Dan, and Matthew, and Marilyn, and Elizabeth, and Juliet. Because we're really talking about the body and the flesh. And this is the body and the flesh, right? There's a great person named Malebranche. And Malebranche influenced Maurice Merleau-Ponty fantastically. And Malebranche, like most French people, had great style, very smart, loved the world, including dinner. And he created a theology of touch. You with me? He influenced, as you read Merleau-Ponty, the embodiment of awareness and the embodiment of the light and having the invisible become visible. Okay. Does everybody know where we're at in this little ongoing seminar right now? So we're going to feel our companion. And we're going to feel them inside to inside. And so I'm leaning into the person with from inside. And I'm leaning from my heart to her heart and coming under her heart, that little doorway. And she can do the same with me. And you really want to feel yourself comfortable, like leaning in where you're getting support also through the embodiment. Now, I'd like you to lean in further from deeper inside yourself, because you will notice the field has an external midpoint and deeply infinite innerness. At some point, you'll discover that. And then you extend that to the person without effort. And I'm pulling Elizabeth just a little bit closer into me, pulling it in. It's more of a metaphor, inside to inside, non-dual within duality, heart essence. And now I'm going to extend from my heart to her, then down. But best joining her, then extending down to her navel dantian. naturally bounce back up in resonance, then back down again. And then I'm going to extend all the way through with her down into the earth. Because all these centers of this embodiment support the sphere, S-P-H-R-E, of really holding the light and maintaining the light. Entering the light, we are pretty good at. Sustaining the light, we're less good at. But when the whole body is holding the light, then we can feel the shift where the light holds us. So now I'm going to come up through her heart, up, and she's doing the same with me. But we haven't left the ground floor. Up through the throat. Now I'm leaning into her mouth, the energy, the palate. And as that opens in her, it opens in me. Because that mirroring takes place for all of us. Then behind the eyes, top of the head, now we're going to go above the head to the chakras above the head. We can extend down into the earth more, even through our inner thighs, activating the inner thighs, down the feet. And you can feel how Eros, the life force, is integrated into the light. You with me? That will mean when Eros is integrated in the light, the sexual element will be integrated into the light also. So it won't be figural, the Gestalt term. It'll be the life force itself, which it naturally is. And then it can move in expanding the person and yourself. But sublimation takes place naturally. And now we're going to see if we can cross over a bit where there's one column of light. You have to be a little open for this. Of course, I would not do this with everyone, you know. Some people like Amma do this with everyone, but they are really, really have capacity, huh? And vast generosity. And you can just cross over and feel the column of light in the mysterious Kunjungsia. I would still like everyone to read. My God, the guy's asking us something to read stuff. Jesus Christ, Lord, paid the money. To read Jung in Love, because it's a very good working text on the mysterious Kunjungsia, which was his final text of summation, which was a completion of the Red Book that he wrote in 20, 30 years before. But it is an archetype, it is a Gnostic book. Now you can lean into each other more, and you can open up the door of affection now. Actually, affection and the heart drops are really close, aren't they? Now we're going to pause, and we're going to separate a little bit. Start to differentiate back. You can still feel the connection. You can even feel non-duality. It's not just so fleshy. So we're going to pause for a minute. And then, like we always do, we are going to pass our mic around. Because when we articulate experience, when we articulate it, we ourselves know it better. But we're not articulating from our mind. We're not imposing our cognition on our experience. We're letting the words arise naturally from their speaking. And we're also going to do it briefly, because I would like as many people as possible to share this morning. So just a brief statement would be fantastic. And I may ask you to move along if you're taking too long today. Let's see what's happening to people out of nosiness. Okay.
It's hard to find words.
This is Tantra, by the way.
Yes, this is Tantra. Yeah. And
Just
it's
a great affection. Yes, please.
it's truly non-personal and personal all at the same time.
Simultaneously, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's embodied non-embodiment.
Thank you so much. Not simply contained in our
So it's like being a Siamese twin, and we're together on the invisible but felt flying carpet.
It's the tenderness of the light. And it's lovely.
Thank you so much.
Feels like this sort of infinity of affection and sort of an adventure even to keep exploring the boundarylessness of being with someone in that kind of space.
Beautifully described.
So radiant and so much clarity and love, and really experiencing that is Tantra, and it doesn't have to be sexualized at all, to have that full experience of the light and that embodied and unembodied joining.
Thank you so much.
I followed along with everything that you were saying as you were saying it, and I felt this melting happening more and more. And as the melting happened, I felt us in a giant stamba, a giant vortex of light going down into the earth and up and around us, and just making us bigger, but melted at the same time.
Beautifully described as that realm became manifest.
Yeah, similarly, it was like a dissolving togetherness, which sounds contrary, but it dissolved into togetherness. And the Siamese twin at the very end, when you said start separating the mind, my mind went out, but the body or essences stayed together.
Another phrase,
The light went back and forth from each of us and enveloped us in a great bubble of white light, and there was a great deal of comfort and a natural bonding that went on.
beautifully described.
had this a flash where Carolyn and I were these ancient trees in this forest, a really ancient, tall, like those redwoods, and it was quiet and cool, and we were both like so old. Our roots were way, way in the ground and kind of mingled together.
Cool. You guys look like that right here. You guys have it really old, you know? And together standing with that essence, with the breeze, the wind was coming through. It was great.
I felt the absence and presence of those I've shared that column with and still do.
Thank you so much. Are these two people right here? We'll come up this way to Laura and Karen. And I'll let everybody
I can still feel the energetic imprint of this comforting arm on my shoulders. It's still there. And the sphere you so was wonderfully directed, Rudy.
Thank you so much. That imprint is the exquisite sense of the trace being formed.
An exquisite inner knowingness of pure potential space, like an egg sitting in an egg of this beautiful shimmering light and generosity.
Thank you so much. Beautifully described.
A profound unfolding, going back and forth between the personal and the non-personal. And the non-personal realm of the light, the Sambhogakaya, was the container for all of it. It's not quantity, it's not that it was bigger, it just was the container within which both were happening. And when I was in the non-personal, in the light, very small circles of energy would begin and then expand out, but it remained a circle, an unbroken circle. Sometimes it was happening in my head, sometimes it was happening in my heart region, sometimes all over. And just now I saw the blue pearl when I said that. And then within the personal, the exquisite gift of being with a soul that I love, sitting next to me, and how that was feeding back into the Sambhogakaya and nourishing me.
Beautifully described. And he's also describing the tea glaze, huh? And
I can't believe I didn't hand it to you.
the tea glaze really are the manifestation of primordial light in flesh.
Precious tenderness and just the deepest expanse of affection. Just
Thank you so much. The great perfection is really the great affection. Really. More accurate.
Such an intimate experience. It's all inside to inside. Like I know Erin in my bones. And I know her knowing me in my bones and vice versa. This must be what it's like to have a baby.
Thank you so much.
There was opening and light initially, and then I think this was more the person I'm working with. There was a vast embodiment, and within that came a shared knower and field.
Certain forms are powerfully incarnated at different levels. A strong
An exquisite, subtle strength and power came through today. Just, it's really a sweetness.
Thank you so much.
Such warmth and softness, like holding your newborn. Such connectedness, such intimacy without giving up any oneness.
Thank you so much.
The going up and down, and the other was so powerful in terms of embodiment. And there was the experience of knowing Diana very well, but then knowing her totally differently. And the eroticism with vitality awakened. And at one point, the heart-to-heart was just affection. And people have talked about it with the holding the infant. It's that the light and the heart and the drops are just melting into affection, connection.
Yeah, lots of affection, and also the power of the connection through the heart area moving down into the earth and rising right up to my throat chakra. It's really powerful.
The moment that I recall is when our hearts met, this joyous, light, bright, seeing, awakening, celebrating. So very sparkly, beautiful. And then it sort of softened and settled into the earth and just became, just so unified and warm and luscious and restful.
Thank you so much.
An experience of 4 columns of light. So one in me, one in Mary Kay, one in between us and one around us. And then when we separated, the column actually strengthened.
Great. Thank you so much.
In the togetherness, there was such intimacy and playfulness. And now in the individuality, there's a continued depth of connectivity.
Thank you so much.
It was a sense of bliss that's still continuing. And I think it came from the feeling of faith's awareness being in me and my going into her. It just was a great deal of light and energy and metabolization. It was just, I felt we were so close.
Thank you so much.
I felt like the connection, like we were a mountain, big. It was like our bodies just got bigger, and I do not want to separate. Like there's a pull to stay.
That's your love of non-duality.
Yes, that sense of being a natural phenomena has increased for me, both from when you first started talking till now, and the union of the praxis and the experience that comes as a result of the praxis is so deep. It felt like as we connected from the hearts and then extended downward, the dimension that opened up even greater for me was the dimension of light arising from the earth and us as being emanations of that light.
Beautifully said. Thank you. Beautiful.
There was such a sense of reliability, leaning in and feeling the sort of animal flesh to flesh, the oneness. And then when you asked us to separate, it stayed.
Yeah, it was a sweetness and a warmth, and I could feel our columns coming together, and then at the same time our horizontal, like ring of Saturn. I never noticed that blended with someone else's in that way at the same time, extending out, and then the experience, like it was, I was totally in that whole holding the baby and at the same time being held, and the exchange of like how you reach down to smell their hair and kiss them on the head, and you're giving the kiss, but you're receiving such a gift of that baby smell. There was just this wonderful exchange that was so together, you know.
I really felt the, I don't know what the words are, but the column of light, and the light coming from above, but coming from the earth, and where we became one column. We had our own, but we became one column. And I still feel that one column, even though we're separating.
Feels like coming from the deepest place, the most expansive place, the most personal love and connection, and also the most cosmic and impersonal all at once.
Thank you so much, Robin.
So I'm reminded of Giorgio's talk last week when he spoke of a person's curriculum vitae, CV, and then behind that is who they really are. And so in this experience, my essence met Jen's essence in a new way, and there was no CV. It was just the sense of self beyond CV.
Thank you so much.
And for me, it was so easy and beautiful because Kay feels so deep and solid and open, and your instruction of going in lovingly at the heart essence. And then, Rudy, you said something that took me to something I hadn't known about a deeper level of the inner heart essence, and I felt it. It was dark and deep and tender and intense.
Thank you so much. So pass the mic back. Everybody had a chance? Here we go. Okay. There's I have a little announcement at the Frederick Center, the monastery. There's a lot of very interesting empowerments going on. Really, some good empowerments with a great yogi and Vajra Yogini. And I like these empowerments a lot. And I love empowerments, and I've gotten as many empowerments as I could get my little head in. And I like getting empowerments because they empower me. But at the same time, I'm going to have Skip read this. There we go. There's a balance in this thing.
So this is an excerpt from the Royal Tantra on the brilliant diffusion of majestic space.
Early Tantra, 8th, 9th, 10th century.
And the book fell open to this yesterday. The actual event that is called an empowerment is not something that anyone else does. The wisdom of awareness is present in ourselves. It does not change through the power of emotional problems. It is because we have it in ourselves that it is called an empowerment. We empower ourselves, so we are empowered. There is something famous that is called a secret empowerment, but we acquire it by its natural force. It is just when our own body is clear as being a God that we inherently do not abide in any grasping at a self. The self-empowerment of wisdom is a perfect mandala. Self-aware wisdom enables self-empowerment. That is a jewel of inexhaustible wonders. The empowerment makes a transformation in the wheels of our bodies, speech, and minds. That is why it is called an empowerment. The reason that it is kept secret is that by the grace of the power of an invisible substance, all of the Tathagatas appear from themselves and act to give birth.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you guys so much. So we have 5, we're actually ending early, of all things. Time stopped, huh? So we're going to sit for 5 minutes, and I may put a little rock and roll song on for some reason. We've had such a good day today, been thinking of New Orleans, so I may put some rock and roll on. Would that be okay? We're just going to sit, okay? Let's see what we can find. But I'm going to turn this off, because if I don't turn it off, then they can't put it up here.